Hello, everybody. I'm Paul Ryden. We've all heard the expression the new normal. Well, it's usually a state of being or living one's life in the wake of something you neither expected nor wanted. Well, our guest today, JG Ramirez, has been deeply involved in observing the impact of trauma on both children and adults. But instead of shrugging her shoulders and letting it be someone else's problems, she writes about it a lot. Her latest work of fiction, ripped from the headlines, is Misery's Tale, an intense look into the effects of sex trafficking and the ethical challenges and trauma that it brings. Welcome, JG. Thanks for joining us from just outside San Antonio.
Thank you for having me.
This is the third in a series of stories around this character named Misery. What inspired you to take on this challenge? Because that's pretty heavy material.
I'm an old woman, so I have watched women's rights change dramatically over the years. I've also watched how women are treated over time, how things have changed and how things don't change. So I was very interested in this particular subject because it's sort of foundations women's rights
Mhm.
is sex trafficking and the way that it gets ignored or it's just a street problem or it's just somebody else's problem. We don't pay enough attention to how it's happening. 2,500 people, women and girls, go missing in this country alone every year. Two-thirds of them are found, but a third of them are not. And as a clinical psychologist, I have watched and dealt with the trauma that this brings to some of these recovered children, especially among women of color.
hmm Now, as a clinical psychologist, has that helped you craft these stories? Because these are not just things you've made up. You're basing it, I take it, on true stories that you've witnessed, and
These
that
are
must have
every
helped.
one of these books, all four of them, there are now four
Hmm.
in the series, are heavily, heavily researched. I spent a lot of time talking with people all from all walks of life, all over the world, to get to understand how they felt so I could translate that to the paper. And also it tells the story of how we can not do this, how we can change and how we can change thinking, because Misery herself is iconic in that from where she starts, what she does with what she started with is amazing.
hmm Yeah. How difficult was it to write about this? Because it's been described as raw and intense. It must have been difficult to write about stories about the evil of sex trafficking, especially involving children. How hard was that when you sat down to write about it? That'd be kind of tough.
Well, my husband could tell you he's walked in on me sobbing as I write, but you can't turn your face from something just because it's difficult. When
Mhm.
we do that, we allow it to exist. In fact, you feed it,
Yeah.
and we get to the point, and I have to blame journalists a little bit, where they look for, like the whole Epstein thing, they're looking to do gotcha with the people that were involved in this rather than looking at what was happening. That young woman committed suicide.
Right. Yeah.
So they don't, rather than look at at what's, you know what would give you gotcha points in the media. Let's look at the damage it's doing, not just to individual women but to the culture of women around the world, where women now in some places can't even sing in their own homes.
That seems almost impossible to believe. But I mean, in this, with as much as we hear about it, because we do hear a lot about it, it's amazing that it still goes on, even in this country.
Well, if you hear about it, you're hearing about it and it's happening somewhere else.
Right.
When I write about it in such a way that people are both entertained, because I know as an educator and as a clinician that people learn when they're engaged with the material you're giving them.
Mhm.
So this is engaging for reading purposes, but it also teaches. And because you're engaged, you retain.
What is the main thing you're trying to teach?
That this is a problem that has to be addressed, but it has to be addressed from top down. We went to a book signing not too long ago, and a young police officer came over. And as he was speaking, he asked me what the books were about. And when I told him, I could see his face change. Oh, these women, they get into this. They like all they like the goodies because that's the thing men go to. And some women, they like the goodies. It's not they're just getting something out of this. They're not.
Mm.
They're not getting something out of it. But as he talked with me and as I explained what was happening to the people in the book and to society around them, how it people get inured. No longer is some the men don't see them as people anymore. They see them as chess pieces. And also, these women are being placed in places where information is gathered and information is much more valuable than the woman. So they don't care what happens to her.
Jeez. Well, tell us about the character of Misery. How closely do you identify with her, or is she based on people you've encountered? Are there?
Misery is my child.
I bet.
Misery is my child. She is somebody who starts out at the very lowest. She's her mother names her Misery because she can't stand the fact she had this child. She's raised in a cesspool, but she rises up, and what she does with both her life and how she changes things for people, a lot of people. If you read the second and the third book, she uses what she learns to change the lives of thousands.
Mhm.
And to me, we all have that capacity. We all can speak out for the best, for the right things, instead of allowing people to farm these young children
Yeah.
like they do to get them in places. That young girl in England, she was Virginia, and that man Epstein raised her up to be what they needed, and they used her to get what they wanted, which was an in. And that's happening all over the world at the highest levels. And you have to address it from the beginning, because if you don't change leadership's feeling about how people are treated, it just gets worse. That's why some places in the Middle East, the oldest child is allowed to throw a stone at his mother when his father accuses her of being unfaithful and no longer wants to be married. And or that we use children in divorce here as pawns back and forth. We have to change how we see things to make children more valuable to us.
What does Misery do in these books that people can grab onto and say, yes, I can do that too?
She refuses, she refuses to allow how she was born and how people see her to define her,
Mhm.
no matter what she has. Even once at one point she gains enough money to do things. I don't want to
Yeah, you don't want to give away too
tell
much.
you what's going on in the books, but she becomes very wealthy, and she uses that to change culture, to change people. And we all have that capacity if we just step up. And it's not big things always, it's little things every day that you do. It's when you're in the line at the grocery store. Here it's HEB. If you're in the line at HEB, say good morning, say hello to the girl who's your checker and use her name. She's a person, she's not just a checker. See people as individuals and ask them what you can do to help them. It doesn't matter if you give them a blanket or you just give them a kind word.
It's the simplest thing in the world to do, and it doesn't cost anybody anything. Why more people don't do
Doesn't
that?
cost
I have no idea.
because we live in a society here and in lots of other places, the practical approach gets lost. It's all about who you are, how
Mhm.
I dress, how I'm seen, how do you see me? It doesn't matter how you see me. It matters how I make you feel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You probably already answered this, but at the end of a writing session, you must sometimes feel like just, I just gotta wash my hands of this.
No, I never have felt like that. But there are times where my husband finds me walking the floors at night,
Yeah.
or the pain of sharing
Mhm.
what's what, and everything in the books is something someone has been through.
Yeah.
There is absolutely nothing, they're fictional only in that I've changed the names and situations,
Mhm.
but everything that's happened in all of these books has happened.
Well, please tell me there is some redemption in these things because, boy, that's the toughest thing.
Because it is misery's redemption. When misery uses the money that the sex trafficker gives her, that's, I'll tell you that much. I won't tell you how it comes about because
No,
that's,
no, no, I don't want you to do
but
that. But I
she
want,
takes that money, and what she does is she builds initially 3 camps. And what she does is she takes people from all over the Middle East that are looking for homes into these camps, and she teaches them how to live together and how to do so with dignity and appreciation for each other. In Israel, it's called kimela. That's the way Jews live their life. It's different than ummah, which is you have to be born into the group to be good. Kahela says everybody come, everybody has value.
okay. Well, everybody likes frothy entertainment. How do you get people to pick up and read a book about a subject like this?
It's not my job to make them read it. It's their job to be curious enough. It
Mhm.
was my job to put it on paper. It
Mhm.
was my job to give you and everybody else the opportunity to know what is really going on in this world, what's happening to women and young men and girls, and to help them attempt to understand that.
Now you've got 3 books. You said you've got a fourth one. What's the fourth one? Because you've got Misery Walks the Valley of Death and Misery's Children, Misery's Tale. What's the fourth one?
It's called the fourth book is called the Sadaha Legacy, because that's her last name in the books.
Mhm.
And it's about what her children decide to do. And she has a set of twins herself, and she adopts a set of twins.
Right.
And those 4 children, who they become and what they do, which is they decide to form a group, and they get a bunch of people to come and be with them. And what they're doing is they're finding children in Africa. In Africa, almost 10,000 children a year go missing. They find them, heal them, and take them back to their parents.
This sounds like all the makings of a fantastic movie. But first, let's get people to read the book because that's an important subject and you're passionate about it, obviously,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it comes through in the writing. So thank you so very much, JG, for joining us. Again, the book
Oh, you're
is
more than welcome. Thank you for your interest. The books are available on Amazon. You can get them at miseriestale.com.
right.
And
Yeah, I was going to mention that miseriestale.com is where you can find well, the first 3 books. The fourth one's not on there yet, is it?
no, 2 weeks.
Okay, very good. Well, JG, thanks again for joining us and best of luck in every endeavor you do.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, folks, for spending a few minutes with us on the Global Book Network. I'm Paul Ryden. We'll see you next time.